Hello and welcome to This Week Those Books. I'm Rashmi Roshan Lal. Technically, April 8 was the last shopping day before the liberation of America. According to plans announced by Donald Trump, his global trade war would go into overdrive on April 9 when his hefty tariffs on imported goods would come into force. So, anytime now. The highest US tariffs in more than a century started to have an enormous economic effect on the world the minute they were announced. Worldwide stocks fell, some factories started to close, people started to be laid off. But Trump says high global tariffs will enable the United States to break free of unfair trade relationships going back decades. Even so, the relevant books for this moment in time are very clear about what it all means. The US last did this in 1930 and it didn't work, says one book. And a novel about the British experience of protectionism tells much the same story. So, our first book, it is Peddling Protectionism, Smoot-Hawley and the Great Depression. It's by Douglas A. Irwin. He's a Dartmouth College economics professor and an expert on both past and present US trade policy. Irwin says that when this book was first published in 2011, it seemed to deal with an historical episode that no longer had contemporary relevance. And then came the presidential election of 2016, when Donald Trump entered the presidential race and brought a brand of economic populism not seen in decades. Suddenly, says Irwin, there was new interest in the 1930 law called the Smoot-Hawley Act. Sponsored by two Republicans, Senator Reed Smoot and Congressman Willis Hawley, it's considered the most damaging piece of trade legislation in US history. The Smoot-Hawley Act prompted retaliatory tariffs by several countries. It caused the US to suffer a steep decline in world exports. It caused anti-American blowback. 1 month after Smoot-Hawley, Canada's pro-American Liberal governing party lost the election to the pro-British conservative opposition. Higher sugar duties helped spark a revolution in Cuba that overthrew a US-friendly regime. After Trump arrived on the political scene, the lessons of Smoot-Hawley were poured over once again, writes Irwin. And at least one was immediately obvious. There are no winners in a trade war. So to our second book, The Mayor of Casterbridge, The Life and Death of a Man of Character. It's by Thomas Hardy and it was published in 1886. There is good reason to look at this 19th century saga of deprivation and desperation in the context of new tariff regulations from Trump's America. Thomas Hardy's novel was published 40 years after the 1846 end of the high tariff corn laws put in place by the British government. That legislation achieved little beyond ensuring the common man found it hard to afford bread, and he and his family were often hungry. The story opens with a man selling his wife and infant daughter for 5 guineas. Not so unusual in Britain at the time. Throughout, the novel portrays a difficult era in a Britain marked by the Corn Laws. Before I go, a reminder. This Week Those Books was created to provide context to the news by linking the big international story to the world of books. We now have nearly 11,000 followers in 120 countries on the Substack app. If you find us useful, thoughtful, or maybe even a conversation starter, please help sustain us by becoming a paying subscriber. It's quite cheap. less than the price of one hot drink per month for a whole year at a branded coffee shop. I promise. And a housekeeping note, we're taking a spring break and will be running repos for 2 weeks. Back with new content on April 30. Until the next time, bye bye.